is going on, everybody? It is your boy, Minsky. Back out with yet another review. And today we're continuing our Karate Kid review series, and today we will be reviewing the third film in the Karate Kid franchise, The Karate Kid Part 3. But before we get into actual beginning of the review itself, guys, don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel, because number one, it's absolutely free, and number two, also maybe help with the YouTube algorithm, recommend it to more people, and maybe they could join. That's yes! And do feel free to comment your thoughts on Karate Kid Part 3 down below. With that being said, guys, let's give a quick plot synopsis of the film, shall we? So, transition and choose Cobra Kai karate instructor John Kreese is still brooding over the defeat handed to him by Daniel LaRusso and Mr. Miyagi. With his slimy partner, Terry Silver, Kreese plans an intricate payback that involves hiring a mean-spirited ringer to rob Daniel of his championship title. When Mr. Miyagi refuses to train Daniel, even under the threat, the boy makes the mistake of turning to Terry for guidance. So, with the Karate Kid Part 3, I've only ever seen this movie once, and this was the second time I had seen this film. And walking in, I remember liking the movie, which I know is an unpopular opinion because this is most people do not like this film out of the trilogy. And as well, in walking into it a second time, since I'm a little bit older now, I love the first film. The first film's often goes back and forth with a Goofy movie for my 10th favorite movie of all time. 2, I thought was okay, but I enjoyed it less than I did the last time, and I think that was a major step down compared to the first film. So, let's just see what I think of a thought of the Karate Kid Part 3, shall we? Alright, so starting off with the good in here, I have Terry Silver as the main villain, which he has been, after this, he has been appeared in Cobra Kai as well. So, but just watching this without watching all of Cobra Kai, I still think he's a great villain. And honestly, he might be my favorite villain of this franchise. I said it, don't get me wrong. I think Kreese is a good villain too. But I don't know, just his dynamic with Daniel throughout the whole entire film, with him trying to manipulate him, I like. I as well do like the story direction that they take compared to the first two films, with Daniel kind of getting wanting to train, but Miyagi keeps on forgetting to train him, so he decides to, okay, screw it, I'm gonna go to my own new karate class, basically, where he gets taken under the wing of Terry Silver. So I thought that story was interesting. However, there's still a negative that comes with that we will talk about later in the bad section, so just keep that in mind. But I do like the story direction compared to the last two movies. And as for the final good I have in here is the main final Karate Kid fight sequence at the end of the film, in that fight arena, I thought was a very solid fight as well. I don't think it's nearly as great as like an ending of the original film, but I still think it was a pretty decent fight to say the least. So I did enjoy the final fight of the film. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to the mixed aspects of the film, the parts I'm 50-50 about. And the first one I have in here is the love interest. Now, I will say this right off the bat. I don't think she's a bad love interest. I think she's quite decent, but still, I don't think she's as strong of a character as the last two love interests Daniel's had over these past two movies. Well, to its credit, I think the ending of the relationship with the girl from Karate Kid Part 2, the ending of that relationship kind of makes sense, and it's less offensive compared to how him and, was it Annie or Allie? I forgot what the main girl's name was from the first film. I thought the way they explained them not being together anymore in the sequel was absolutely stupid. But as for that that I went, okay, that's fine, that because she wanted to stay where she was, so Daniel went back to America, basically. So I liked that. However, I think out of the 3 love interests for Daniel, I think she's easily the weakest out of the 3. I don't think she's as compelling as the other 2, but I still think the main romance between them 2 is cute, as I said before. So, but yes. Next thing I have in here is the whole subplot of Miyagi's tree shop that he has. Because the whole entire plot, because Daniel kind of gifts it to him with, and buys it for him to own. But it doesn't really get, in the beginning, it's featured a lot, but then later on in the film, it's not as featured as much anymore. So I was 50-50 on that, and as well, the final mixed aspect I have in here is the more campy tone with this one. So personally, I would say overall as a whole, I do enjoy the more campier tone of this movie. However, I think the more campier tone shows definitely its flaws the most, while still I enjoy it. Now, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to the bad, which I only have 3. Which, the first one I have is Daniel and Miyagi's dynamic in here. Which, if you recall the last 2 reviews I've done of this franchise, I said that the dynamic between them 2 was great. In the first film, it's amazing. In the second film, I think it's actually really good what they do with them. But in here, since Daniel's not working for, not training with Miyagi anymore and training with Terry, I thought that their whole entire dynamic could have been a little bit better if the movie was a little bit longer. And they stretched out they gave a few more minutes to the film to help build up their dynamic a little bit more. As well, the character of Mike Barnes in here. So basically, he's kind of the main antagonist. Well, no. Terry Silver's the main antagonist towards Daniel, but basically, Mike Barnes is kind of his puppet. But for me, I thought he was either written to be way over the top, or the actor was just bad in the role, unfortunately. Now, don't get me wrong, it kind of fits in the movie like this, but still, no, I don't like him as a villain at all. And as for the final thing of this film, I do think that this is probably the weakest written out of the Karate Kid franchise, but I still am entertained by this film, so it doesn't really matter because I still get a good time out of this. Alright, but with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is just my thoughts on the Karate Kid Part 3. Now let's bring out the Toxic Meter. And I'm actually going to give this higher than the Karate Kid Part 2. I'm going to give it a Toxic Goodness a B-. Yeah, don't get me wrong, it has quite a few issues, but I never understood the overwhelming amount of hate for this film. I never understood it, because I still think it's a pretty decent sequel, and it's a step up, personally, for me, compared to Karate Kid Part 2. I think it's a step up in that, that's probably a hot take, another hot take in and of itself. But, as I said, just my thoughts on the film. Be sure to let me know your thoughts on the Karate Kid Part 3 down below. But with that being said, guys, I'll see y'all next one, everybody. Peace.